But just quickly look at the points table for both Australia and Pakistan, because we showed it to you earlier. We were only focusing on two teams. Australia sitting at 4 after 3 games, and Pakistan at the moment on 3 from 3. And as you could say, they'd go level with Australia, or not level. Australia would get to 5, so Pakistan to 4. But Robin, yeah, you'd have to say Pakistan wouldn't mind sneaking that point before playing India.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Pakistan would definitely be, wanting to win that game. As unpredictable as they are, you never know what they might go out there and pull off. But having said that, like Joyda was saying, I think they prefer a shorter game, because that doesn't give Australia to have an opportunity to come back into the game in case something goes wrong with the Australian lineup tomorrow, the match per se for Australia. But having said that, I think Pakistan will want to focus on the positives, on what they've done well and what they can go out there and produce tomorrow. But they would be, I think all teams would be worried about, rain playing a factor in this tournament right now.
Yes, and they've had a bit of a break, which they wouldn't have wanted. They had a fabulous win. It's been a roller coaster for them. They started miserable fashion against the West Indies. 7 wickets doesn't really tell the story of that particular victory. Winning by 14 runs against England, that was fantastic at Trent Bridge. Then they had the abandonment at Bristol again, where today's game was abandoned, and now they go to Taunton with more rain around. So they'll be feeling that they just haven't managed to sink their teeth into this tournament, and that momentum that they probably had against England is kind of gone.
You know what would be a good idea actually, to check back in 1992 what happened to their 4th game, because their tournament seems very similar to what happened back in 1992. They lost the 1st game, they won the 2nd game, the 3rd game was washed out.
They won the 4th.
They won the 4th game, so you never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
There you go. So that's the paddle that they'll want to stick to. In terms of team news, we've had lots of talk. We discussed Shikhar Dhawan, but in terms of Australia, they've had a side strain injury for Marcus Stoinis. Now, a side strain doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be out for a long period of time, but what they've done is they've got Mitchell Marsh coming in as a replacement in case Marcus doesn't recover quickly enough. This is what Aaron Finch has said, or respond to treatment over the next few days. We don't know how many games he'll miss. We should have a clearer picture, but it's one flight ticket. Get Mitchell Marsh in as that 16th player to be around the team, and if the replacement is there, he's already acclimatized.
I think it's fine. I think it makes sense because you're coming from so far. Australia, it's a long journey. Somebody gets off the flight. In any case, I believe exactly what Robin said, that if you have chosen 15 people, your first and natural replacement is usually within the 4 people who are not playing on a regular basis. Because why on God's earth did you select them? You selected them as backups for some reason or the other. So for Mitch Marsh even to come into 11, I would definitely say somebody would feel very hard done by if somebody got off the plane from India and just walked into Shikhar's place. I can understand the situation.
Well, we've heard. Let's first have a look at Australia once again. Marcus Stoinis is the one in question. That's why we've put him in yellow. He's been playing all the games. So for now, like-for-like replacement could possibly be the other Marsh, who's not necessarily getting off a plane. Sean Marsh might just get a look in there, or would you look at one of the bowlers?
Well, I don't think they need to look at one of the bowlers, but they could go Sean Marsh's way. But where would you fit him in the batting order? That would mean that everybody else goes one wicket further down, right? So
and Maxwell becomes a full 10
exactly.
over
Maxwell
bowler.
has to bowl 10.
He has to bowl 10,
The problem is
I'd rather play Nathan Lyon there instead of having as in he can bat as well. He's no muck with the bat. He can actually bat a bit. So I'd have him down the order at number 8 and number 9 and use his bowling, because I think his bowling will be very useful for Australia, especially to have someone to support Zampa in the spin department would be good for Australia.
And what's a big bonus, and I'm not going to ask Robin this question because of our little game that we had going on, is Alex Carey showing form for them. There was a lot of talk about Australia going with only one wicket keeper and no real backup as such, but he's sort of been that X factor, an unknown in a sense for many of the teams.
Yeah, he's been very, very good for them. Even against the India match, he did a fair amount of damage. And it's nice to see, because that strong Australian wicketkeeper in the days of Gilchrist and all, you've got used to a certain type of prototypical Australian wicketkeeper batsman, which generally they haven't managed to do over the last 3, 4, 5 years. They just haven't had that consistency. So if Alex Carey comes good, it's not just for this World Cup, it's I think good for Australian cricket as a whole. And I think the kind of batting he was showing, he has a certain X factor to him.
Yeah, it seems like they've been seeking for a wicketkeeper batsman post Adam Gilchrist. It seems like he could be the one that could carry that baton for the next 10 years.
Every pun intended. Yes, of course. And they've had a few over the years. I mean, the likes of Tim Payne have been stalwarts when it comes to the big bash, but just making that one step up. Brad Haddin for the longest time. Looks like they might have just found their person. What about Pakistan? Again, we're not going to get into the discussion of which Pakistan it is. Let's assume, for their sake, it's the A team that comes up there, and they've got some decent names sitting on the bench. Haven't necessarily had to try them. Haris Sohail played early on in the tournament, then they realized the experience of Shoaib Malik coming in. I think one of the revelations has been Wahab Riaz making a comeback, making an impact, and he seems to like the Aussies, as a lot of teams do.
Well, yeah. So I think with someone like Wahab Riaz, when you look at the mindset, you think that okay, if for him this is probably his last World Cup. Could be, and he could have one more if this really goes on well for him. If the revelation keeps going on, right? But I just think that he knows that this is his last get-go. So if he gets going early, then he can really extend his career. If he doesn't, then he might have to call it quits.
Yeah, and I remember it was during the CPL we had a wonderful chat on Cricbuzz Unplugged with Wahab Riaz, and he actually requested. He said, "Are you okay if we talk about my possible World Cup comeback?" I said, "Nothing wrong with that." And he actually, believe it or not, took a clip after it was posted on Cricbuzz and said, "Can I send it to the PCB?"
Conviction plays a big factor, doesn't it? I absolutely believe you need to have conviction in your ability, in what you desire and what you dream of, and only when that conviction is real, do things actually turn out to be fruitful, and everything kind of conspires in its own way to make things happen for you. So conviction is extremely important, irrespective of how old you are, what you're competing for, irrespective of any of that. Conviction is extremely important.
And the beauty was, it wasn't anything dodgy. It was just him saying, "Listen, I want to send a message to them. Here's something that a lot of people watch, so why can't I just do it with this?"
Absolutely, and I think it's fantastic. Also, Cricbuzz did his good deed for the day, which is fantastic. But exactly, I remember parallel about 12, 13 years back when Dadi was making his comeback, and just nobody rated him, and he did this advertisement where he's talking about making a comeback and I'll do it, and everyone was saying, "Hey, you know what, if he doesn't make it, he looks stupid." But you have to take the risk of looking stupid if you want to make it back.
Yeah,
you have to put it out there if you want to make it back. And Saurav just did that. He did the ad, he came back, he got a double century, and he went out in his own terms. I mean, and that it takes something. You have to not be scared of being embarrassed, of looking stupid, of looking, "Oh, you were too old to do it, why did you even try?" You've got to forget all that and try. And I think exactly that's what Wahab Riaz would have done.